Hey, Mama. So today I am answering a question that I actually had received when I hosted my Build a Visibility Strategy that fits your current season of life masterclass. The mama who asked the question, she had shared that, she had done quite a few podcast interviews, like lots of podcast guesting, and that when she did do that, she would invite listeners to DM her a specific word to receive, tips and strategies related to her niche, but she never got any DMs following those interviews. And she wanted to know, how does she actually attract clients from podcast interviews? So today I'm going to be tackling this question by breaking down the number one type of call to action that converts when guesting on podcasts, or for really just maximizing your visibility, like getting the most out of these podcast interviews. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey mama, are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed trying to grow your online business with your babies at home? You desire more flexibility in your day, allowing you to pour into your family, yourself, and your business without running yourself into the ground. Mama, you can build your dream business and do it in a way that fits your current season of life. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andria Singletary, daughter of the king, wife, mama of two, and life and business coach for mompreneurs. On this podcast, you will learn business strategies made for mamas just like you, who desire to be successful CEOs and fully present mamas without stress or overwhelm. So whether you're an entrepreneur who transitioned to a mompreneur or a mama turned mompreneur, I am here to support you. So grab your coffee, notebook, and pen, put in those earbuds, and let's dig in. Okay, so one thing that I experienced when I first started podcast guesting was not seeing any conversions from my interviews. It honestly felt like I was just wasting my time because I wasn't seeing a return from it. I wasn't having anyone reach out to me to say, hey, I loved your interview. I learned this from it. How can I learn more about working with you? And the reality is that I was using the wrong calls to action. I was directing people to just go to my website and saying they could learn more about my offers there. Or I would say for them, to send me a DM on Instagram to share, what they thought of the episode. While these calls to actions aren't bad in and of themselves, they aren't the most effective in getting people to take action. More so, they're not the most effective of actually getting these people into your world where you can continue the conversation. Now, depending on who your audience is, who your target audience is, this may not be the most effective way to continue the conversation with them. So think about it. If you serve, say, busy mamas, they may not think to send a DM on Instagram, or if they aren't active on Instagram, they won't DM you. Or they may not even remember to go to your website and check out your offers. As moms, like I talk about on the podcast all the time, our time and capacity is limited. And even if you aren't serving mom business owners, just business owners in general, we are busy. We're on the go doing things. And so we may not remember or may not feel like, it's worth our energy to send you a DM on Instagram or, something like that. And so if the call to action isn't, linked in the show notes, then whoever is listening, your target audience, they may not even remember to, take action on your call to action. So I talk about this a lot, but you have to make it incredibly easy for people to get into your world. And this is even when it comes to guesting on podcasts. You really want to offer those listeners something that's going to pique their interest and it's going to cause them to want to move and want to get to know you more, want to be in your world. And this is why inside of the Social Media Detox Club, I teach the mamas to drive listeners to a free resource that connects to, the topic they're speaking on and is going to help listeners get a quick win. And I feel like this is so important because you don't just get them over to Instagram and, they have to start the conversation, right? A lot of times we don't think about the fact that it can be intimidating to reach out to someone who, you're interested in getting to know them more and possibly work with them, but it's kind of intimidating. Or I've seen it happen too, where, someone sends you a DM and it gets in that other box that you don't always check. Like it's not in your general DMs. And so you may miss that DM. So when you do it differently and you move them over to your email list where they get something free from you, where they're getting more value, they're, really getting to know you more, building that trust, that is more effective than driving them to go check out your website or driving them to send you a DM on Instagram. The other thing that we do inside of the Social Media Detox Club to kind of help with this process is really mapping out free resources that connect directly to their signature topics and paid offers. This is so important because it really creates this cohesiveness. You bring a lot of value in this interview. And then you talk about this resource that essentially they can use to apply what you taught in the interview so they can take action. So they're not just consuming this information and not doing anything with it, but now they have this free resource that they can use that can actually help them implement. They get this quick win, boom, you've earned their trust. And then they're thinking, wow, I was able to achieve this with so-and-so's free content. How much more can I achieve if I actually invested to work with them? So let's talk a little bit more about like what these resources can look like. So again, it needs to be the next logical step after listening to your podcast interview. The next thing they need to do so that they can implement what you shared in the podcast interview. And so this can be different things. This could be a private podcast feed. Private podcasts are, I feel like they're so slept on, but they are so phenomenal for creating free resources or even low ticket resources. But talking about it in this context, they are so phenomenal for creating free resources because they can be easily listened to on the go. I recently invested in a private podcast. One of my favorite business owners, Kay Hillman, she launched her Unfiltered private podcast. And I literally, she drops 2 episodes a week. I listen to it, at times either when I'm dropping my son off at school or picking him up while I'm doing the dishes, but I can easily listen to it while I'm doing other things and I'm taking it all in and really mapping out my own plans, like on how I can implement what she's teaching in this private podcast. So that is why I love private podcasts for this reason. Like, regardless of who your target audience is, they can easily consume your private podcast feed. Another thing you can do is create a playlist. So, like I said, if you have a podcast or even if you have a YouTube channel, you can create a curated list of your content. So I actually have a few of these for my podcast. I have a few different playlists. I have one that's specifically about, leveraging podcasting to generate leads. I have another one that is about quick and easy ways, like quick and dirty starting your podcast, like everything you need to know to start your podcast. I have another one that is geared towards collaboration. So how to really leverage collaborations as a busy mama. And I've used each of these to as a free resource. I just create a quick little landing page with ConvertKit and set everything up so that way when people sign up, they're sent that link to the playlist and they're able to binge the content. So when it comes to these free resources that you promote in these podcast interviews, it doesn't have to be something where you have to create from scratch. We create a lot of content as business owners. And so if you have a way where you can put it together in this nice little package with a bow on top, it's so much easier. You don't have to do the most, you can keep it simple. So that is what I really love, about the podcast playlist. And even, like I said, if you have a YouTube channel, you can do the same thing. You can create these playlists that focuses on a single topic where you're breaking down different aspects of that topic. But again, you want to make sure it connects to whatever you're talking about in that podcast interview. Okay, another thing, and it's the same thing, kind of like what I just mentioned, but blogs, people still read blogs. Blogging is not dead, but you can even curate, certain blog content that focuses in on that specific topic you are discussing in that podcast interview. You can create, like, I don't know if you use like, WordPress or even Show It that's integrated with WordPress. You can create a category for those specific blogs. So that way, when people, go to that link on your website page, it has all of those blogs there. And you can put it behind a landing page. So you're still getting these people on your email list, but you're giving them this curated content that focuses on this specific topic that they can go in and binge and apply what you're teaching further, really, putting together a strategy, a plan so that they can take immediate action. And then the last thing is just, you can do like a downloadable freebie, a checklist, a guide, a mini course. But essentially what I'm getting at is that you want to provide them with a resource that connects to the topic you're speaking on in that interview. You want to give them something tangible where it's going to help them implement what you're teaching on in that interview. It's going to help them to take that concept that you broke down in that interview and take immediate action on it, really apply it and start getting those results. So when you drive them to a free resource that connects to the episode topic, you can talk about that resource a few times in the episode, reminding listeners about it so that they will be primed to sign up for it after listening to that interview. This is also effective because it gets listeners on your email list. Like I've been saying, it really allows you to get to know them one-on-one and nurture them further. That is one of my favorite things about email marketing. You know that your email is ending up in people's inboxes. You're able to see who is reading those emails, who's clicking the links. You are able to ask those engaging questions that starts a conversation one-on-one with your email subscribers, really building that relationship, really, allowing them to get to know you, but you also getting to know them. So you now may be wondering, okay, Andria, you haven't mentioned, directing them to a specific offer. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why I don't believe you should direct people to a specific offer, like a specific paid offer when you're guesting on podcasts. Now, what I want to preface here is that this is not to say you should not talk about your offers. You should talk about them in podcast interviews, but you want to talk about them in the sense of how you supported clients in a specific offer. But don't make your offer the call to action. It's not effective because it's still I don't like to call it a cold audience. I call it a lukewarm audience because I've explained this in other episodes, but essentially the audience isn't super cold, isn't ice cold because the podcast host is essentially telling the audience, hey, this expert I'm having on the podcast is someone who I trust in this area. They know their stuff. So if you need support with it, this is who you need to talk to. So it's not quite an ice cold audience. I like to say they're more lukewarm, but even lukewarm, they're not hot. They're not on fire. They're not ready to hand over their money to you just yet. They still don't fully know you and they still don't trust you. Now, I don't want to say that you can't ever sign someone directly from a podcast interview. It is possible. It is possible to sign someone directly from an interview without nurturing them further. And I've done that. I've had that happen before, but it's not the norm. People buy from people they know and trust. So your focus needs to be on building a relationship, which can happen at a quicker rate when you get them on your email list. So I really want you to think about long term. If you're thinking about, okay, I just want to sign a client immediately from this podcast interview, well, you're doing yourself a disservice because you'll have other people who are in the audience who they're really enjoying your interview. They're loving what you're saying, but they want to get to know you more. They want to build a relationship to make sure they truly can trust you. And so you want to create that opportunity for that to happen. And for that to happen, you need to get them over to your email list so you can connect more, so you can engage with them more. So regardless of how, you're getting visible or marketing your business, you always have to think about the customer journey and how you can make it as easy as possible for people to take action. This is why inside of the Social Media Detox Club, we plan our signature topics, our freebies, our bundle contributions with the customer journey in mind. That is how you see conversions from podcast guesting and other visibility opportunities. You have to really think about the customer journey. And visibility is the start of that customer journey. That's you bringing new people into your world. But when you think about like podcast guesting, you have to drive them to your email list so they can actually get into your world. So that is it for this episode. I want to remind you that the doors of the Social Media Detox Club are open right now. And so if you're like, yes, Andria, I want to increase my visibility. I want to attract my dream clients. I want to sell my offers all without relying on social media. Join us inside of the Social Media Detox Club. We've been having new members join since August. I've had a few more join this month as well, and it's just the start of September. But the mamas inside are doing some amazing things. They're doing incredible things. Like one mama just applied for her first 2 bundles, and she was excited because she didn't have anything to contribute to bundles, and we were able to map that out inside of the membership. Another mama applied for her first bundle and got accepted and is already promoting that bundle and getting more people into her world, generating leads, people who actually needs what she has to offer. So if that is you, if you really want to start leveraging collaborations to generate leads, to attract your dreamiest clients, join us inside of the Social Media Detox Club. You can head on over to mamaturnedmompreneur.com/membership to join us. All right, Mama, I'll catch you in the next episode. Well, Mama, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a review? Hitting that follow button and sharing your thoughts about the podcast are the best ways to ensure that other mamas like you find this show. Your review also lets me know if you're enjoying this podcast, so make sure to share your thoughts before you go. All right, Mama, I'll catch you in the next episode.